it to work right now, which is one reason I haven't been really videotaping very much. But it's a little bit of traffic. We're flowing right now, but I can see we're about to hit traffic. So I decided to make my labor and delivery video finally. I actually made this twice, and I lost the cords, both of those cameras. So while I'm driving, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you guys what happened, just so I could put up a video, because I haven't put up a video in like 2 weeks. But I don't know like the times exactly. If you followed me on Instagram during my labor, then you already know the times and everything that happened. But I'm just gonna go off like guesstimation wise what I think the time was. So firstly, it was around 5 o'clock in the morning. I woke up and I was just feeling not right. And so I told my husband, maybe you shouldn't go to work today. And he was like, no, because I had just had a doctor's appointment like 3 days before, and they said that my cervix was nowhere to be found. It was so high, and it was like they couldn't even reach it. So yeah, I waited. I just was watching TV, and I start getting contractions, and they were very light. They weren't even hurting. It's kind of like the last day of your period when you're getting contractions. Not contractions, but you're getting cramps. It was like super light. Like I wasn't feeling much pain, but it was coming every five minutes. So I told my husband. He was like, it's probably not nothing. It's probably nothing since you're not feeling any pain. So I was like, yeah. So then 3 more hours passed, 2 or 3 more hours passed, and I was still getting them every 5 minutes. I was like, I don't even know. I posted it on Instagram and everything, and people were like, good luck. And I was like, well, I don't even know because I'm not in pain. So I wrote on Baby Center, the Baby Center app, what was going on. And people were like, oh, well, you should go to the hospital because everybody's pain tolerance is different. And I was like, yeah. So I called my mom and my brother. My mom to watch Jace and my brother to take him to the hospital. And so I went up there thinking that nothing was going to happen. And they said I was 3 centimeters and that my cervix is tilted, and that might have been why they didn't feel it at my appointment. So, just trying to remember. So yeah, so she told me to walk around for an hour. This was around 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. So she told me to walk around for an hour. I walked around for an hour. I'm pretty sure cars are looking at me like I'm crazy. But anyways, so I walked around for an hour. I came back, and while I was walking, I was squatting and doing all that stuff. And she said, okay, you're 4 centimeters. But she was like, I'm just going to let you walk one more hour and see what's going on. And I kept thinking, nothing's happening. I didn't even tell my husband to come to the hospital yet. I told him what was going on, but I was thinking, nothing's going to happen because I'm still not feeling that much pain. It's like not hurting really. So she checked me again after that hour, and I was 5 centimeters. And I was like, oh, okay, well. And by this time, I had been up. Like, because I didn't really sleep that night since I woke up so early. I didn't really sleep. I went to bed at like 2 o'clock that morning, so I was really tired. So I just kept walking. She admitted me then. At 5 centimeters, she admitted me. And so I just kept walking around. And then I got in the room, and I was just feeling very nauseous. I hadn't ate. I hadn't slept. And it was like 9 or 10 o'clock now. So I did throw up a couple of times, and I told my husband to come, and he got there relatively quick because it wasn't that far from his job. So after that, I told them that I wanted to get some sleep, and so my midwife recommended that I take some fentanyl, and she said that would just ease the contractions a little bit. Even though they weren't hurting, they were just annoying, and I wasn't going to be able to sleep with them. So she gave me some fentanyl, and it makes you feel really high and like dizzy kind of, which some people hate, but I didn't really mind it. And so I slept for about an hour, and I woke up, and they checked me, and I was at a 5.5. So I was like, okay, well, let's just keep walking. So my brother was still there at this point, so I just walked around with him some more. The contractions were getting a little harder, but it still was nothing, like nothing at all. Like, it was so bearable. So I started walking around. I came back, and about, I don't know, I think an hour and a half later, I think it was around 1 o'clock, and she checked me, and I was at a 6. And I was like, okay, things are progressing good. And I just felt like so like I don't know, I just felt so gross. I hadn't taken a shower, and I was sweating from walking around so much and squatting, so I just felt really gross. So I took a shower, which felt so good. I felt so good to be in the shower. It was taking all the pressure off my stomach, like the little bit of cramps that I was getting, even though they were coming like every 3 minutes at this time. The little bit of cramps that was happening, it completely relieved the pressure. So I just stood in the shower for literally like 2 hours. The hot water does not go off at the hospital, so that was awesome. And so my doctor was like, okay, well, I don't want you to, you know, give birth in there, and we have to put you back on the monitor. Oh, I forgot to tell you, because I was GBS positive when I first got there, they did give me 1 hour of the antibiotics. So it was time for me to get back on there. So I got out the shower, they hooked me up, I put my antibiotics back in, because I think they have to do it every, I don't know, 6 hours or something like that. So yeah, and I called my family and I told everybody, okay, this is actually happening. So everybody came, and Kwani's mom and grandma and my best friend Ami, who made herself my doula, we walked around for another hour, I would say. It was around, this time is going to be so messed up. But it's pretty close. It's pretty close to what was going on. I might have missed a couple hours. But this was around 4 o'clock. Yeah, like 4 o'clock. And they checked me again, and I was at a 7. So I was getting like really good contractions. And it was getting a little painful, but nothing I couldn't tolerate, because I had been expecting so much worse. And I still hadn't had an epidural or anything at this point. So I was at a 7, and I was getting scared, because I was like, okay, I'm at a 7. I'm not feeling a lot of pain right now, but what if, like, I was just scared of the pushing, and I didn't want to not have epidural while I was pushing. And I didn't know, it just seemed like everything was progressing so slowly. I had already been there for so long, you know, so I was just like, you know, it had already been 12 hours of me being in labor. So I was just really scared that this was going to go on for even longer. So I told my doctor, okay, well, I'm going to walk around a little bit more, and then I think if I haven't progressed enough that I want to get an epidural. And she was like, I don't recommend you do that. And she was like, you're doing so good. I've never seen anybody, you know, handle the pain at this stage so well. And I was just like, I'm just really scared. And I was like, can I get the fentanyl again? And she was like, well, the fentanyl doesn't work very well the second time. So she was like, the camera's shaking, I'm sorry, I'm driving. So she was like, it's best if you to just get the epidural. It's no point in getting the fentanyl. It's not going to work much like it did the first time. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to walk around and see what happens. So I walked around a little bit, and probably like another hour. It was around, actually, it was around like 7. It was like 7 o'clock. And she told me I was at a 7.5. I was like, after all this time, I only progressed another ½ centimeter. So I was like, yeah, go ahead and order the epidural for me. I was getting pain to where my best friend would have to push on my back. She'd push on my back, and I would squat a little bit, and I would sway and whatever. I wasn't screaming or moaning or anything at this point. But it was I don't know how to, I'd say this 1 to 10, it was probably like a 7. Like pretty painful, but not like, oh my God, you know, like it was still painful. So I had to stop during the contraction. So I would stop, sway, whatever, and she would push on my back, relieve the pressure, and it was working good for us. Like we did a good routine. And she was like, don't get the epidural. You're doing so good. You always wanted to go natural. You're so close. She was like, just get in the shower. So I was like, okay, if by the time I get in the if by the time I get in the shower the epidural guy is not here yet, then I would just call it off. But if before I get in the shower, if he's already here, then that's my sign I need to get the epidural. So we started walking back, about to get in the shower, took it off my clothes and stuff, and he came in. So I was like, well, that's my sign I need to get an epidural. So she checked me before I got the epidural, and I was at an 8. So I was like, okay, all right, then it's still like not progressing enough. And I was at a couple of times has passed by this. People have ate and we've been laughing and stuff all this time while I was in pain and we were walking, whatever. It was more than an hour. So it was around 9 when this happened. So they gave me that, he gave me the epidural, which was so painful for me. It was not painful with Jace, but it was so painful for me. And I felt burning on one side, just like I did with Jace. It just felt burning on one side. And I did not like it, and I was so agitated at that point. It had stopped the pressure, but it was still not help. It was like, I felt like, I don't know, it wasn't helping enough that I felt like I should have got it, because I could still feel pain, but I wasn't feeling the pressure of the pushing like I was before. But it wasn't worth it to me. So after I sat down for a little bit, and I feel like the good thing about the epidural is it did make me progress really fast. So about 10 minutes later, she told me, I told her that okay, my camera says I'm out of storage, so I'm gonna have to hurry up. But I said it was around 9. It was actually around 10 o'clock when this happened. I had just got the epidural. It had only been 10 minutes and I felt like pushing. So I told her to check me, and I was at a 9. And I felt so much pressure. I was already pushing by this point. I asked her, is it okay if I push? And she was like, yeah, that's fine. Just do what your body feels, because I really felt like an unbearable amount of pressure. So I was pushing, and at this point I was in so much pain. She told me I was in the transitioning period. I was in so much pain. I was screaming and crying and telling them to just kill me and take the baby, and mom, take care of my baby. And I was screaming, mom, help me. Like, I was in so, like I felt like a banshee. Like, I was screaming at the top of my lungs. My brother, who was in the waiting room, told me he could hear me, and he was crying because he thought I was going to die or something. Okay, so my phone is acting crazy. There's no way I'm out of storage. I just deleted like 50 videos and it's still saying I'm out of storage. So whatever, I was in so much pain, screaming and crying. I was pushing, her shoulder was stuck, cord was around her neck. I pushed for 30 minutes. I tore because I was pushing early and I had to push really hard to get her shoulder out. And then she was born at 7 pounds 5 ounces at 10:45. She was born at 10:45. So yeah, I'm sorry this is like so whatever, but my phone's acting stupid. But yeah, you guys, that's basically my labor and delivery. It was horrible. 18 hours of labor, and it was ridiculous amount of pain I've ever felt in my life, and which makes me think if I would have never got the epidural, maybe I wouldn't have been in so much pain, because I was doing good until I get the epidural. But we'll never know, because I don't plan on having any more kids. But all right, you guys, I will talk to you guys later. Hopefully I can make an actual vlog sometime soon. All right.